Hello, this is David Mixner. I hope you all are doing well in these troubled times. Before I begin, I wish you would please, and it would help me greatly, push the subscribe button. Doesn't cost you anything. It just take a couple seconds, and you'll see on this where you can push subscribe. Please do that. It's a little painful to talk about today's topic, and it's one of those things that at 77, I wished I didn't live this long to see this happen. There are things I wish I could live long enough to see happen, but unfortunately, this is not. I want to talk to you today about Israel and Gaza. Let's just be real clear. There's only one person responsible for what's going on in both Israel and Gaza, and that is Hamas. For 2 years, these fanatics have been practicing for one thing. They developed maps off Google. They went house by house on the maps. And their plan was to do nothing more than to create a pogrom in southern Israel. And that means they went in and as brutally as they could kill as many Jewish civilians as possible. A good old-fashioned pogrom. For over 1,400 killed, raped, brutalized, corpse dehumanized. 200 taken out of their homes, children, women, seniors, and kidnapped to Gaza. Now, we all know this. We've all seen the pictures. We've all been horrified. But let's be real clear about one thing. The strategy of Hamas at this point was not to capture a military installation or a police station or to regain territory that they lost. This was not a military operation. This was not a policy-driven thing to create in response to any Israeli action that they might disagree with. This was to kill as many Jews as it was possible for them to do in the shortest period of time. And not only they did it, it was carried out with such brutality that it's indescribable. They took the hostages back into Gaza. The world reacted as it should with horror and disbelief at this act of terrorism and nothing more than a pogrom. However, the Israeli people did what has done often before, has responded with a heavy bombardment of Gaza, affecting many civilians, even children, lives. Now, I want to first of all say Israel is not the first nation to respond in this way. We bombed many villages after 9/11. How many of you remember shock and awe in Iraq, where we stayed up at night to watch it actually happen? We even named reporters stud scuds after the missiles. That's how casually we took it. Mass bombardment and destruction of Iraqi cities. Hiroshima, Dresden, Cologne. The list goes on forever of nations that have used the same strategy as Israel is using now to protect their security and protect their lives. Doesn't mean I agree with every decision Israel's made. Far from it. But the responsibility of the bombing that's taking place right now in Gaza is Hamas. They are the ones who slaughtered those people in the southern Israel. If I was in the leadership of Gaza, the moment that happened, I would have condemned it. I would have returned every single hostage, and I would have turned over every single militant that took place in that slaughter. None of that happened in Gaza. No statement saying this is not who we are as a people. They were dancing in the street. They were spitting on hostages. And Hamas created this atmosphere of hate and slaughter. Now, they had turned back the hostages and turned themselves in and saying, we will not have our children bombed because of our actions, we would be dealing with a different situation and strategy today. Hamas is the one that built this network of tunnels. How did they build them? Under hospitals, under daycare centers, under schools, to make it more difficult, using their own people as human shields, so that it would make it more difficult as they stayed in the safety of their tunnels under bombardment, using their own relatives and friends and children as shields against a possible bombardment. This is what has happened. No one can end this quicker than Hamas. No one is more responsible than what's happening in Gaza today than Hamas. No one has the power to show individual courage and stand up to the terrorists who has slaughtered in a horrific massacre Israeli civilians. This is not an issue of policy. This is not a review of everything that Israel has done right and wrong. And I can come up with both. This is not a time to get wrapped up in ideology that you become so cold to the inhumanity of what happened. This is a time for all of us to say, never again. We will never allow the kind of pogroms that haunted the people of Jewish faith in Russia and Eastern Europe again. We will never stay silent on the Holocaust. And they must know, and how many of us have said over here, why didn't they fight back like the Warsaw Ghetto and the Holocaust? Well, they're fighting back. And this is part of the never forget. So I'm not happy with what's going on, the destruction and the killing of civilians on both sides. But there's only one group that's responsible, and we must not forget it. And there's only one group that can end this quickly, and that is Hamas. They can surrender out of the tunnels where they are hiding while their citizens are dying above them, and they can stop being cowards. And those who are responsible can step forward and say, I did the unthinkable. Here I am surrendering. Here are our tunnels, so this can never happen again. Because we want to stop the killing of our own people. And they have that power. Turn themselves in. Return the hostages. 4 hostages? Please. Please. Who built the tunnels where they're located? Whose missile destroyed the hospital? Hamas, Hamas, Hamas. So while it is difficult and at times appalling to set through this painful time in our history, let's be quite clear where the responsibility lies. Hamas. They created it. They can stop it. They can save thousands of their citizens' lives. But instead, they're using them as human shields while they cowardly hide in their tunnels underneath their human shields. So please know your history. Please understand that what the Israelis done is not the first time that any nation has responded in this way. Please understand that this goes into a historical context of never again. These villages in Israel were not military targets. They were not police stations. This was not an attempt to take over a military base. This was not an attempt to reclaim land. This is people, I don't even know if I can call them people, inhumane terrorists training for 2 years, even picking out the maps and the houses in the cities to go in and slaughter and conduct a pogrom. That is what we are dealing with. So please have a historical sense. Please understand who is responsible for creating this and who can end this by abandoning their tunnels, by turning themselves in, and by the Palestinian people standing up and saying, this is not who we are as a people. And I believe that many of them are not how they are as a people. So the answer lies with Hamas. not with Israel. In fact, Israel is showing remarkable tolerance on invading to give people a chance to do the right thing and return the hostages. I wasn't going to say anything about this because it seemed to be so covered in the media and columnists and my friends. But I realized that as time passed, the judgment is increasingly falling on Israel instead of Hamas. The people who are killing the children and women and people of Gaza are Hamas. The people who have the ability to end that is Hamas. So thank you for allowing me to talk about this. I know it's highly controversial to some people, but I'm adamant. And I'm a person who has sought peace all of his life. But I'm also a person who is a child of the Holocaust. I'm Irish Catholic. I am not Jewish, but I have grown up with the stories from the survivors of the Holocaust, including many, many Rainbow Coalition folks. We know what happened when good people didn't stand up and take a stand. And I am saying now is never again. Now is the time for good people to insist those who will shake up the world order with the worst kind of brutality to let them know that there's no place for it in the world. Thank you very much for listening to me. I'm very grateful and sending you all love. I'm sending all the love I can to all of the people involved in this. But don't doubt that I know who's responsible, who can end it, and who caused all of this in both Israel and Gaza, Hamas.